License and Registration Show is brought to you by WheelHouse Storage, luxury garage condos for all of your toys. Visit wheelhousestorage.com for more information. Now on to the show. Welcome to the License and Registration Show. I am your host, Mike Ryu. Today we have a couple special guests with us, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hey, Lyndon Coolman.
All right.
I'm Connor Kohlbeck.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the time out and coming out and seeing us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Cool. So originally we all kind of met with the Cars for Our Troops show. How long has that been going on?
That started 2011, so coming up on 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
9 years ago we started planning it.
Nice. Okay. And what was, when you guys first rolled into it, kind of what was the thought behind, hey, this is what we want to do. This is something we want to try to start.
There was no thought behind it really. It started with a lady that was friends with my mom years ago. Reached out to me, asked me to run a 5K. They were doing for Tyler Southern, I think is who it was the gentleman that came back and had a couple injuries from war, and they were raising money for the Homes for Our Troops. People that don't know, they do specially adapted mortgage-free homes for wounded veterans. So wider hallways for wheelchairs, lower countertops, stuff like that makes it easier for them to get around.
Gotcha.
And again, it's all mortgage-free. So I had always had a lot of appreciation for veterans. It was something that I did want to pitch in, but again, I told her I'm not running. I don't do that. But I'll come up with something else that I can pitch in. So I said, I've always wanted to have a car show. So I went and talked to my mom about it, and she just kind of poo-pooed it off, didn't believe me, yeah, whatever. And I think it was maybe a week later, I said, okay, I've got a venue picked out. I've got a couple sponsors, and I've got about 10, 15 cars at the time. And she was like, all right, let's go. So it started with that. And I think the first year we had like 20, 25 cars.
Yeah.
And for Cars for Our Troops exotic and luxury car show, we had Scion FRS and like an Audi
it was
S4.
maybe a handful of,
That sounds like Jacksonville's exotic scene a decade ago.
I mean, like the FRS was brand new at the time, so that was pretty cool to have. And a couple other cars. The guy with the RS4, he's been there every year since, and his cars have obviously gotten bigger and better and more exotic. But at that time, it's really, let's just see what we can grab and what'll get us started. So,
and that was at the Wild Wing Cafe parking lot. So
yeah,
definitely.
that's
We
right.
also
moved up in venues
as well.
Well, that was good because Cars and Coffee always had their shows there. And it's a pretty central location as far as Jacksonville goes. So it's easy for everybody to get to. With Cars and Coffee, people already knew where it was, and there was tons of parking for spectators.
Right.
So that made it a lot easier as well.
Good. So how did you get roped in?
Connor basically said, hey, you want to help out with this? And I said, not really, but okay. And
that's the same response I get every year.
The support from a good friend.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it's like, are we doing this? Okay. All right. Get dragged into it. But
It's been good fun.
yeah, we definitely, I mean, growing it again from what it has been the last couple years, just between venue and the caliber of cars versus what we started. I mean, we're both pretty jaded with the kind of cars that we've been around. And so again, like you said earlier, I mean, the kind of cars that used to be in Jacksonville versus the kind of cars now and the kind of cars that we actually get to come out. Cause that's probably one of the hardest, biggest struggles we have with the show. I mean, there's actually a ton of really nice cars in town. It's just, again, getting in touch with the owners, convincing them to come out, to show off their cars, the fact that it is for Homes for Our Troops usually helps with that.
We can usually guilt them into it with that.
Yeah.
If you got an angle, run with it.
Yeah, it's worked every year. The hard part though was starting, I don't know how old you were at the time. I was 18. So trying to talk to people, I had like no facial hair, and I'm like, "Can you come to my car show?"
Yeah.
And a couple people bit the hook, and they showed up.
I think a lot of people thought it was just going to be a bunch of Honda Civics. When you say car
they
show
really
in
did.
Jacksonville,
Right.
it's you're talking either old muscle cars or Civics.
Yep.
Or trucks. So we were. I mean that. Even Cars for Cars and Coffee has grown in the caliber of cars that it brings out.
Definitely evolved.
Yeah, it's insane.
So again, for us starting, I mean, the entire point of the show was to do something that no one else did in town at the time, to bring out this sort of high class, exotic and luxury. Again, we've been around the cars, but a ton of people just come out. This is the first time they're seeing these cars in the flesh. They've seen them on TV and posters, YouTube.
Yep.
I don't know if YouTube was around back then, but yeah. So
Yeah.
So backing up a little bit. So prior to this, had you kind of always been into cars? Was this something that was like no pun intended, like in your wheelhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always. I can't remember when that interest clicked. I think it was when Twister came out. It was the Dodge Ram. Always wanted a Dodge Ram, had every model, dressed up as one for Halloween, and that kind of like cemented it. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's
nothing that cool, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So flying cars and cows is what did it for you?
I didn't care about the cows.
Yeah.
Just the Ram. That's all I want. I still want one. But yeah, that was like the first thing as far back as I can remember. And that was I was like 3, 4.
You want like an old like 5.9 Cummins or something?
I don't care.
Just want a Ram.
Yeah, just throw Dorothy in the back. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always, played with Hot Wheels as a kid, normal boy stuff. And then, through high school, really not into the car scene, and college towards the end. I mean, I think I started, Fast and the Furious came out when I was at UF. So I remember, going around to my buddy's S2000 and looking for people to race, and then going home and watching the movie and then doing it again. And
Yeah.
So and then out of school, I, got my first sports car and then moved back to Florida, and that kind of snowballed into where we are now.
Well, it's not. We have year-round car weather, so it's not like we're packing
pretty
anything
lucky.
up for the winter.
We actually, I'm into racing, and we actually take summer off because it's too hot. That's the opposite of everyone up north.
That's true. No snow, but it's too hot.
Yeah, no, yeah. The couple custom cars that we have, they typically sit in the garage for a couple months during the summer.
Yeah,
like,
they'll start overheating.
It's too hot.
And, no, you're miserable. I mean,
it's nothing you want to really do.
Right.
So anything crazy like back then, getting into cars? Any type of stories that stood out?
I've got like one awful speeding ticket. That's the only thing I can think of. I was pretty reserved up until that point. I got, what was it, 105 and a 65, I think. That's what he caught me at. I was coming down from a little bit faster than that. That was bad.
Was that local?
Yeah, that was Phillips Highway in front of Palencia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was going north. I was going south, and I saw the lights come on instead of slowing down. I punched it.
I remember back, the US 1 used to be a fun spot before it really started getting developed.
Yeah, and that was 2009, 10. I think I was a sophomore in high school. A friend's mom gave us the keys to her BMW. So 4 teenagers in a BMW.
Gotcha.
Great idea. Yeah, headlines.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so.
I've got plenty of bad stories where I was a kid in a car. And,
anything outside of the statute of limitations?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I can, still talk about right now.
I told you 4 episodes. Yeah. It's all going to be his accidents and speeding tickets.
Yeah. But again, so I've got a couple of accidents, numerous speeding tickets when I was younger. Pulled over, doing all sorts of things. Just, again, my first car out of school was, an Infiniti G35, bright blue, brand new,
there you
05.
Go.
So again, especially when I moved back down here with it, and that's after I was borrowing my parents' cars all through, college and high school and getting in trouble in those. So again, it's what led me into doing the road course stuff, was trying to, if I was spending money on a lawyer and speeding tickets every month, I figured, hey, it can't be that much more expensive.
Channel that another way.
To actually put it someplace else.
And to be honest, it's helped. I've had one speeding ticket, I think, in the last maybe 10 years since.
So do you find now that you do a lot more on the actual track that you tend to be a little more conservative driving on the street?
I drive like a grandpa now. Like
I haven't
let
had
people
speeding
in, no
since.
road rage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
6 or 7 years since I've been pulled over.
Oh, so you're clean now.
Yeah.
7, like they all fall off. Was it 7 years, I think? Or no, that's credit.
Oh, no, that one that I had, I had to go in front of the judge for that one, and he walked in. All right, no points, nothing, you're good.
Wow.
So I just had to stand up in front of him. I had either parent behind me or both parents behind me. And $500 for the ticket, $150 for court costs, and $100 for driving school. It sucked.
Yeah. Drive. Well, now you can do it online, so it's not as bad. It's not like you have to actually sit there at the DMV.
Oh, well, yeah. No, that one I did online at home.
Oh.
But I can't remember what job it was. I don't know if it was Tesla, or maybe for this last one, I had to get like a driving record to prove that it was clean. Yeah. And I went and got it, and there's nothing on there. And I called the girl. I'm like, are you sure? Like, it's clean. She goes, there's nothing on here. You're good.
Stop
and it was
asking.
Like, she could tell. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll shut up.
Like, we could dig and we can find.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's clean.
That was 10 years ago.
So getting back into cars for our troops,
you get this idea, you get your first venue, and I'm sure over the last 9 years, you've learned an incredible amount in regards to running a show, managing a show, getting it off the ground. What type of preparation goes into kicking a show off like that?
You would think that I would learn. Every year I say, next year I'll start in March or April, maybe February.
Still hasn't.
It's August, and I still haven't started planning for this year. Although this year's different. It's the same for prior years.
He has an excuse for once. So
no, if there was no COVID, I would still be
he
waiting.
would still be waiting, and we'd still be,
we got time. It's fine.
Although it has gotten easier to procrastinate because I know
we've gotten better
what to
at
expect,
it,
and people know that the show's coming up that time of year. They may not have an exact date, but they know.
Around
I've been
November,
getting asked already. Like I reached out to him because I was like, hey, again, even with everything going on, there are people that know that, hey, just about every November we've done this. So, they're asking, hey, you doing it this year? Because obviously people are bored and looking for things to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
the main parts of it basically are, again, always making sure the venue's locked down, sponsorships, getting prizes for the show, and then obviously having the cars, the attendees show up, and that's gotten definitely easier for us as we've kind of grown our reputation. Word of mouth. I think a lot of it is, again, as we've talked about, for us trying to convince people to bring their cars out versus having their buddy who has a similar caliber car saying, hey, the show was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
So that sort of, support definitely has helped us grow our list of cars.
Right. Well, to circle back to what he said earlier about with the first car show where people were just assuming it was more muscle cars, trucks, whatever, trying to keep it to where it is strictly exotics has helped us grow and brought more people back because they look forward to that. It is something different. It is something unique. Right. And I can't think of any other shows in the Jacksonville area that are strictly exotics. And, every now and then we'll have somebody come in that isn't. But, we had somebody that they brought their R8 for a couple of years, but they got rid of that and they got, I think he had a Roush Mustang or something like that. But again, he's been coming since the first year. I'm not going to tell him, well, this year, your car's not good enough.
Right.
I think the hardest part though is telling people, I appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate you wanting to participate and to support us. However, we are trying to keep this more exotic. I hope you understand. I hope you do still come out, and you're more than welcome to come check out the cars. But we do need to keep room open for the higher end stuff. And a lot of times people are very respectful of that, and they're cool with it. Yeah, I'll still come out there, and they do still come out and support. Every now and then you'll have the guy that's, next time I spend X amount of money on whatever the car. I think the guy was like a $60,000 Infiniti, just chewed me out online. I'm like, well, do you want me to park it next to the $400,000 Ferrari or the $400,000 Lamborghini?
And it's hard. We've had friends that we've had to turn down for the show, and that's just as hard. Where I'm sorry, I've known you for 10 years, but your car's, I would say it's not good enough, but it's not what we're looking for. And that's the differentiation we try to make is, hey, look, we're not telling you that we don't like your car or that your car isn't, cool, but for this specific show, this is what we're looking for.
Yeah. Well, you can put it this way. You're not going to take, I had a 370Z, I'll use that for an example. I wasn't taking that to the Turkey Rod Run. I wasn't taking that to a muscle car show. You're not going to take your exotic car to a muscle car show. Same as somebody's not going to take a muscle car to an exotic show. It's just, and the way I try to word it to people is that if we start letting these cars in, because they'll say, well, you're doing it for troops, you should let every car in that's just raising more money. Yes, it is. However, if those muscle cars start coming in, or any other car really, the guys with the exotics over time will stop coming because it's no longer special. It's no longer unique. And then Cars for Our Troops is just every other car show.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to avoid. Yeah. And again, it's not that we don't appreciate cars in general or, every genre, I guess. It's just, we have a guideline that we try to stick to, and out of respect to the other entrants, we try to follow that.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a specific type of car show. I mean, and you look at, VW car shows, they even differentiate between air-cooled and water-cooled. So, it's good to hear that most people are usually pretty respectful of that. Yeah. And I have no doubts that there's definitely the handful of others. But
we're in Jacksonville, so it is hard to get that message across sometimes where people take it as, you think you're too good for us, or, and it's like, it's not that. Again, we're just trying to do something different.
Well, kind of like we were talking earlier, the car scene in Jacksonville over the last decade has just changed tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
And it's either A, the cars themselves are changing, like different people are moving into town, or B, the cars that no one knew were here are finally starting to come out of the woodwork. So yeah, no problem.
Yeah, even the people we know, just again, like we were saying earlier, they started with one car and then they've slowly become more successful and they've got nicer cars, more of them, that sort of thing. So
they become more attainable. You look at the GTR when that came out in whatever year, that there were a handful of them.
Right.
But now that they're 10 years old or whatever, you can get one high 30s, low 40s, and it's going to have an insane amount of mileage on it, but it's still a GTR. So those kids that grew up with S2000s, G's, whatever, and can now afford them. And those guys that had them originally, again, have become more successful. They can step up to
a different
McLaren,
platform.
Lamborghini, a different caliber car.
So what have you found, what is currently the toughest, or I should say probably the hardest problem you deal with in regards to running, organizing, or prepping for the show?
That's hard because again, it's become easier over the years. I guess the hardest part that we run into the past few years, we hosted at Tapestry Park.
Right.
So getting them to jump on board with it, because the past 3-4 years, it's been a different property manager every time. And the lady that we worked with last year, super cool, very nice. She was also doing a lot of Tapestry's like accounting department. So that was really her main thing. And then she kind of did property management on the side. So trying to get time with her that I can convince her, hey, we've been here for 3 years. A lot of the tenants, they enjoy having us because it does bring in a lot of business, a lot of spectators. There's probably, I would say, close to 1,000 people maybe that come out throughout the day.
Easy.
So people that either didn't know there were certain shops there or bringing stuff into Jimmy John's or I think, was it Flame Broiler?
Flame Broiler, yeah.
Okay, bringing stuff into them. So just, again, convincing her that this is good. And we've been there for, I think that was our 4th year this past year.
I think even getting into Tapestry was the hardest part because we wanted to move there for the longest while and we just couldn't get a hold of them. And then finally we did. And then that still took time. And again, like he's saying, we help out a lot of the tenants there, but of course there's always one or two, I'm not going to name the stores that, will complain. And of course they're going to be the loudest. So it seems like it's always a fight when, again, we're trying to say, hey, look at the amount of business we're bringing into Tapestry. Like, when is Tapestry Park ever getting a crowd like this for the rest of the year?
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree, because last year when I was there, it was packed. Like it's almost gotten to a point where last year was almost too big for Tapestry Park.
Yeah. I just don't know where we would move it. That's hard. I know, like
we've got a lot of, there's just certain things that we like about it. But like you said, just, there's a checklist of things that we want for a location, and there just aren't many that fit that bill. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because, talking with the folks that kind of run the Cars and Coffee event, and of course it has not been going on because of things going on. And, they'd be getting a lot of flack from folks like, oh, well, you better hurry up and start, or someone else is going to start a Cars and Coffee.
No, they won't.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Someone was like, there's tons of places that'll take there's not.
They don't want that liability.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly. Then people don't realize.
Yeah. The whole the responsibility behind it. It's easy to talk on social media and not back it up.
Well, those would be the same people that,
as an expert,
they can try and organize something. Little keyboard warrior. Yeah. No, you'll have those people that they talk, and I'm going to start my own thing, and then it never comes to fruition.
Yeah. So, A lot of people, I'm just going to start this show and I'm going to do this. And
again, hats off to the guys that started Cars and Coffee, because of the fact that they've been doing it for this long. They've grown it into what it is. Again,
it is
for
insane
Jacksonville,
what it has turned into.
Yeah. You look at the drone photos, and again, we remember what it was 10 years ago, and it's night and day. But
and it was
now,
in Wild Wing parking lot.
Yeah.
They had maybe 50 cars show
30
up,
to
and
50
now there's
cars.
500 or so. It is incredible what
and
they've
people
done.
are, again, it's a good sign that people are begging for it to come back, because they miss it, they want it, and they enjoy it. So it shows just, how good it is for the community in town. And again, we're all waiting for it to come back. So
what type of, once a show is started, you have the day going, you're there in the morning, you're getting set up. Are there any type of issues that kind of pop up throughout the day? Like you find yourselves kind of being a firefighter and going out and putting things out? Yeah,
usually it starts when I show up. The show starts at 10 o'clock. So I get there usually 7:30. There's always a car left from the night before.
Yeah, because we aren't able to close it off the night before. So.
Yeah, because it's a public road, so we can't do that. And then the tenants, no, we don't want you coming in the night before and telling people they can't park here. I understand. But yeah, there's always a car. Usually they show up before the show starts or maybe 30 minutes into it and it's gone. That's fine. We just push them out the back. Year before last, we had a dumpster in one of the spots.
Yeah, they were renovating
and I'm like, shit. But usually it's that or the weather. You could have a perfect car show planned out and have the greatest cars and the most money raised, and then it just decides it wants to pour that day. Thank God we've never had that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But really, the things that we run into day of show, it's going to be people that have either issues with their cars. We've had people that they got into an accident the night before. Their car won't start. They've got a flat, whatever, and they're always really good about texting me, hey man, I'm not going to make it. I'll come up in another car, but I'm not going to have this one to show. That's usually the biggest thing. But what's cool is that we have, I think it's like 55 parking spaces there, roughly 55 to 60 cars that we can fit in there. So we'll register 60, 65 because we know there's going to be 5 that don't show.
Right.
But then there's always 10 to 15 more that, hey, I don't think I could make it, but I'm going to show up, save me a spot. I'm on my way. Or they just, they're driving by or whatever. Last year we had a couple cars come down from, I think, Cars and Coffee. That filled in some of the spots that we had from other people that couldn't make it. So it almost always balances out. But like you said, it's last year we were kind of bursting at the seams as well as the year before. So it might be time to move it, but we'll try it one more year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I just think over the years, I don't think there's too much that pops up that we haven't seen before. We're not prepared for. It's
right. So. There are things that we see like, okay, we could improve on this and we can make this better, but nothing really disastrous that just kills the show. There's stuff behind the scenes that people may not realize is going on. But at the end of the day, they still come up and, hey, it was a great show. We had a great time. Thanks again for doing this, for having us out.
Definitely. It's a great show. If anyone is in the Jacksonville area, you have not been to it, definitely check it out. Every year it just seems like the crowd gets better and bigger and the cars keep getting better and better.
Yeah.
So it's been a blast. Now with that said, let's say someone, another city, even this city, whatever, wants to try to start their own exotic car show. What is something that was kind of like a lesson learned over the last 9 years that would be like, yeah, I wish I had known that when I started?
The biggest thing I would say just to anyone, not even for a car show, but getting into the scene or getting into cars, I constantly get asked, hey, how are you around these cars all the time? And the easiest thing for me is like, it was never really, I never started chasing these cars. I started off going to Hooters and with my friends. Like that's literally that's how I began, and that's how Connor and I met. Was lunch meets I was hosting, and he came out to one of them with a friend. But if you're getting into it just to chase the cars, you're going to be like every other kid on YouTube. You're gonna, there's a million car chasers. Instagram. It's cool. All right, but how many videos from behind the cars that's driving away are you going to see versus do you actually want to be the person in the car riding or even driving that car?
Right.
And I would say my biggest advice to anyone is concentrate on building relationships, meeting the people, building up just, kind of your reputation as a person or, again, if you're doing a show, that's what we've, again, my personal life versus what I do to protect the show. It's night and day. I want to make sure that the show is always taken care of because we want people to be happy. We want people to come back, whether you're attending or a part of the show or just, it may not be your first time. If you heard something bad about it from someone else, you're probably not going to come out.
Right.
So again, the biggest thing is just look, network, communicate, reach out to people. We're lucky now we have places like WheelHouse in town where it's almost easier to go find the cars versus 10 years ago. Who do you call? Like, where's their, before social media even, just how do you find these cars?
And that's what people, they don't realize the cars are here in Jacksonville. There's an insane car scene. They're just hidden because a lot of the people, they don't want the attention.
Right.
And I don't blame them. But like you said, networking is the biggest thing. You are not going to start a car show and in the first year have a huge success. Again, you look at what we started with and where we are now. You look at Cars and Coffee. You look at Amelia Island. He did not start with where he's at now. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of networking. I've had the gentleman the first year, I had Malcolm from Cars and Coffee say, hey, I've got this friend that has these cars, reach out to him, see if he'd be interested, send him an email.
Yep.
Hey, this sounds great. I've got, here's my list of cars. What do you want me to bring?
All of them.
Shit. Yeah. So
Get some friends.
I picked out, he had a couple Ferraris and a couple Bentleys, this and that. So I asked him, hey, would you mind if I stopped by and checked him out just to see him? So I went by and he walked up to me and we were talking about the show and he's, well, what's your goal? What do you want to raise? I said, I'd like to do like at least 5,000, make it worth everybody's time. He goes, well, shit, I'll write you a check for that. So we had him every year just writing us a check and here you go. And he would bring out 3 or 4 cars. There was a 1 year where he was out of town. He was out in Vegas, I think.
He sent his cars.
He sent his cars, but he flew in the night before from Vegas to make sure that his cars were at the show. And then once they were set up and the show was starting, he got back on his plane and flew back out to Vegas. And so through him,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Through him, I met other people that, guy brought out his Enzo the second or third year. And again,
I remember that one.
It's all networking.
Yep. And be patient. I mean, again, like Connor said, don't, what we started with versus, kind of like the happy image we have in our head. I mean, that took probably 5, 6, 7 years before we got to a show that we were, I would say proud of, but just like really excited to feel like, wow, we did something. And it was just, doing it over and over. And again, we were doing it for a good cause. So, I mean, it wasn't, hey, we want to show off what cars we can get out here. Right. It was, hey, we want to raise money. We want people to enjoy raising money because, like Connor said, I don't want to run a 5K. I mean, that sounds horrible.
It was hell. I've done one. It was awful.
I've got no interest in 5Ks.
No.
I mean, that's the thing is, we found something that we like doing, hanging out with cars and hanging out with our friends. And at the same time, we're doing it for a good cause. So, I mean, there could be worse ways to spend,
Right. Oh yeah.
some time over the year setting up.
I think you guys, I mean, you're right on. Like it really is. It's relationships, it's patience, it's, not just chasing something just for the grams.
Yeah. Well, like he said, we've become jaded to these cars, and it sounds awful because they're still awesome cars, and I still appreciate them. But you've become jaded to them because you've
been around them.
You've been around them for so long. You've done your track days, or again this show, stuff like that. You've been in them, you've driven them, whatever. The people to me are far more interesting.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the friendships that I've made out of this have just been insane. And then also too, people that didn't know others before this show that brought them together was, different business owners that, hey, I need this, would you help me out? And they kind of benefit that way too. But now to see that they're friends and they're doing track days or dinners or groups or whatever, to see stuff kind of spiral off of Cars for Our Troops has been really neat.
Yeah. Overall, it just improves the entire car culture of the area.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the same. I mean, you kind of, like you said, when you're around the cars so much, it really becomes less about the cars, more about the people, more about the friendships you've built and made over time.
Right.
And it's not instant.
Yeah.
A lot of people just expect to jump in and, oh, I've got a camera, let me take some pictures. And why don't you let me take a picture of your expensive exotic car?
Yeah. And I think I was lucky to learn that very early on. Like I said earlier, I mean, I started hosting, I think at the time I was the North Florida director for the Florida G Club, Infinities and Nissans. And I started hosting lunches here in town. Again, started building relationships that way. We opened up to friends. We would go down to Orlando, Cars and Coffee, because that was before the Jack's Cars and Coffee scene was big. And again, some of the friends that I've met down there, I mean, we've been friends now for 10, 15 years, and these are some of my best friends. And, we would go down there to Cars and Coffee. We'd go inside, sit down for brunch, and 2-3 hours would go by and we're shooting the shit. And we're like, we haven't looked at a single car here. We're like, we should probably take a walk. Cause we don't even know what's here. I mean, we know what we brought, but
right.
So
that's
just,
true.
Again, we're lucky, and again, some of those friends, have introduced us to new friends or new opportunities. And again, it was never about, well, he has this car, I'm going to go be his friend. It was, hey, this is a friend. He happens to have this. Oh, look, all of a sudden he's got a Superleggera. Oh, he's letting me drive his Superleggera. Whoops. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But so
And you're still friends with them after they get rid of that car or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a Dodge now. It sucks.
Wow, that's
By the way, that Dodge is a Viper ACR Extreme.
It's an incredible
striker
car.
Purple, freaking amazing.
Okay.
But
I think
we say he downgraded from a Lamborghini, but it's definitely a faster track car. So
everybody has ditched their cars for this ACR.
yeah,
People have gotten rid of
they're amazing.
C63s, R8s, those Superleggera. I think there's like
it's
5 or
basically
6 Vipers in this
ACREs
group
and
now.
GT3s. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
I mean, again, starting from Cars and Coffee and Hooters Meets to now we're doing track shows, charity events. I mean, it's been interesting to watch, just, and again, supporting your friends and watching their success and watching them transition, it exposes you to, new and different cars. So,
Oh yeah. Different cars, different events.
Yep.
I mean, you go from track to track, series to series, different style of events. You figured all the road events. Even now, of course, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but the half mile, like Want to Go Fast had the half mile shootouts for a while. Just a little bit of everything. It's crazy as
they're
you
still
start
doing some
learning.
roll race events, but I think they're more at drag strips right now. Right now, the half miles are kind of
I think they were going to have a dedicated facility that was going to be up in Georgia, and then something happened with the track extension and the pavement deal that was going down.
Yeah,
That's something I would not want to organize.
yeah.
A half mile event.
No, I could not imagine the insurance on that.
Oh, I have no idea. They're fun. I've been to a few of them.
I'm sure they're awesome. From the spectator side, yeah, it's great. I'm not an organizer.
No. All right. Well, that's not on your short list. Let's go ahead and knock that one off.
I'd take that off.
Not putting on half mile event.
No.
So speaking of other events, you guys are into some other things other than, of course, Cars for Our Troops. Recently, you've been doing a lot of ChampCar.
It's actually been 6 or 7 years that we've been running. Originally, it was ChampCar, and now it's ChampCar Endurance Series.
Yep.
We've actually been really successful with that lately. So
Awesome.
It's been going well.
So the series has still been pretty active with all things considered.
Yes, there's been a handful of races. We were. Let's see, at the beginning of this year, we did Road Atlanta at the end of February. It snowed on us, which was wild, but we still managed third with our Cobra. And then it kind of took a break. We were supposed to do Daytona in April. Of course, that got pushed.
Right.
We had another large charity event in Daytona, Celebration Exotic Car Festival. That got pushed.
Yep.
Sebring 12 Hour in March. So again, everything started getting pushed. But we were able to, we were just at Austin a few weeks ago. And then we were at Daytona again. We were actually able to run Daytona, so we did pretty well there.
Great. No, that's good to hear. So what got you into that?
Again, it started with tracking. So I did my first track events in the end of 2009. I think it was October and November. I went to Roebling Road up in Savannah. Did a couple track events basically on my own. I mean, I downloaded a list off the internet and bought things like a fire extinguisher because I thought I needed to be prepared. So,
Did you have the whole Sparko outfit?
No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I had a helmet and gloves, but no, I didn't go overboard because I didn't want to be the guy that showed up in that and then
Came out looking like the Stig.
Yeah, and then everyone was passing me.
Was it ever used?
So what?
The fire extinguisher?
No. Okay. I mean, well, that's the thing. I mean, you had all these older cars like Porsches and Ferraris that would catch on fire.
Oh, yeah, you use it for somebody else's car.
Yeah,
that's common.
So I started that. Some buddies, good friends again from Cars and Coffee in Orlando. They went to Daytona, I believe, at the same time. We hooked up at Roebling, started doing more and more track events. Started our own track company. Hosted events throughout the Southeast. That hooked us up with the Celebration Exotic Car Festival, which we now run the track event at Daytona for them every year.
Oh, yeah, that's a great event.
Yeah. So
one of my favorites.
You've been out there, yep.
Yeah.
So
I showed up. So last year I went out and I think it was a Friday morning for the track day. And for whatever reason, I'd forgotten what time things started. So I got there at like 7:30 and I pulled into the parking lot. I was the only asshole in the parking lot. Like I got out and I'm looking around and I showed up in my Jeep. And so the guy every year, anytime I go to an event other than there's a big event there called Jeep Beach.
Yep.
So every time I show up and then he's like, "Oh, you're here a little early." It's the same joke every time.
Yeah, because it's like a couple weeks after they're bringing all the sand.
Exactly.
And dirt.
And so I'm like, I just got to get good parking. And so we go in a park and I realize there's like not a soul in the parking lot. So I'm like, is it the right day? Because nothing was happening. Like the track was quiet.
Yep. Yeah, we're lucky. I mean, we rented out all for ourselves. I mean, we're in complete control. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So I show up, I'm sitting there like, I'm looking like the camera nerd with my backpack and the camera out and everything. And there's like nobody.
Yeah.
Like the garage, like all the cars are there, but I guess must have been driver's meeting or something going on. Cause
I'll make sure to send you a schedule for this year. So.
So it was great. So I had an empty garage to
6:30.
shoot for like half an hour. But
I mean, that's the thing is, there are some cars set up, but so again, just from the track events, some of the guys that we'd been doing it for a few years. A buddy basically had I think it was a 92 300ZX lying around. So we kind of took what we had at the time. It was about 7 of the guys. I kind of got involved doing sort of radio and support. So they put that team together, and I think in 2 or 3 years, our best finish was like 15th overall, and we were excited about that. So we learned a lot of lessons. You know, there was a lot of infighting because we were all such close friends. You would have thought we hated each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, we definitely grew with that. So 3 of the guys started their own team after that. We started with a Mazda 626, which we still race. It's more of a rental car now. So we put that together, kind of got some wins with that, built a sort of good reputation for that.
Awesome.
And then the guys put together a 95 Cobra that's basically a front runner in the series. So we usually, if the car doesn't break, we're on the podium. And, we've got a ton of trophies in just a couple years now.
That's
awesome. So, first, like I said, we were just at Austin. We got second on Saturday, first place on Sunday. Daytona, I think a 14-hour, we got second place there. So, I mean, the car's pretty solid. The guys are awesome. We've definitely, just kind of like we were talking about with the show, just over the years, we've learned a lot and we've gotten pretty serious. Our renters always have a good time with us. Again, we're usually pretty successful. Even the Mazdas won at the 24-hour at VIR. So
that's cool.
It's class. Sorry, not overall.
So you've been to plenty of tracks. You've done a lot of track days.
Yep.
What was it like, let's say, for the first time that you drove at Daytona?
Sensory overload. Absolutely. I mean, any new track, any new track experience. I mean, I try to explain to people, when you get out there, it's going to take, like, everyone wants to know, what should I buy for my car? And I nothing. I mean, you want, decent tires, you want decent pads and fluid in the car, but it's more seat time. The car's always going to be faster than you, no matter who you think you are. I mean, again, both of us, I think we got our humility checks on the track, and that's what calmed us down on the road, is showing you that, hey, whatever you're out there, you're not, there's always someone faster, even in a slower car. Because I have seen an FRS chase down a 900 horsepower GTR on track. So it doesn't matter who you are. So, I mean, Daytona for definitely the banking, I would say. The first time you get up there.
So do you ever, was it, so I talked to a couple folks who occasionally, like, they run Daytona or Circuit of the Americas or some of these other iconic tracks. Does it ever, sometimes you're out there on the track and you're driving, do you ever think about, like, kind of the history that's taken place on that track?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, like, one of our big things, we're like totally lucky to live where we do in Florida, because our home tracks are Sebring and Daytona. And people are, when you tell them, like, you run them all the time. I mean, the guys have a ton of experience at Daytona and Sebring. So we get out there and we're flying, versus Coda. We'd gone out there maybe about 5 or 6 summers ago, and we'd taken, personal cars, like some Vipers and Z06s. But when we went back recently, again, no one had really driven it recently. No one had driven it in that car. So it was almost like a new learning experience. And I mean, we beat out a ton of local teams to come, second overall and first. So
that's awesome. So do you have any tracks left on the bucket list?
So because we have 2 cars now, we also have a 48-foot trailer for the team. So we are starting to travel more. Like I said, we did Coda. We're actually going up to Road America at the end of this year, and we're kind of trying to do that maybe every, again, obviously the virus threw everyone's travel plans off for the year. But our plan is to actually, do more bucket list tracks. I mean, I doubt we're going to go out to California anytime soon, but, anything, up north or even, central, we're going to try and start knocking out. Just
something with elevation changes.
That
would be nice.
I mean, we've done, like you were saying, bucket list tracks. I mean, we've done VIR before, and that's a beautiful track. I always tell people to go to. Even Road Atlanta is close for us. But that's an amazing track that if you haven't, gone down the hill, it's, definitely try it sometime.
So what's it take to get into, let's say, like the ChampCar series now? Like, if someone wanted to,
a lot of fucking money.
Well, let's seriously talk about. So if someone today says, okay, this is something, like, maybe they've done some just random track days here and there, and they really want to get serious about it. What does it take, you feel, at least basics, to kind of either put together a team or a car?
Well, I would definitely say don't put together a team or car. The best thing to do is to start with the arrive and drive, like rental cars. I have friends basically in that position right now where they've done a few track days, and that's kind of what happened to my friends, where they'd done track days, they were fast, they were passing everyone, and it was kind of, all right, well, what's the next challenge? And again, once you build up the experience, you may not know every track you're going to travel to, but again, a lot of it is car control. But then when you move to wheel, you're passing offline versus the DE line that you learn from an instructor. So, I mean, again, that's night and day. But, I mean, to start off, honestly, again, seat time experience, you want to be solo qualified. You want to be comfortable in your car. You want to be comfortable, start looking at what teams, what cars are available to rent. Start at a track you've been to before. And, for the Mazda, for example, we rent out 2-hour stints anywhere from, $600 to $900 for a 2-hour stint, depending on the track and what we provide. But there are many teams that do that. So honestly, that's the best way. Or even just come out and hang out. You can volunteer to help out at a champ race. So a lot of the track workers, a lot of the event workers are volunteers, but that definitely gives you a taste. You can come help out teams. There's always teams that are short in manpower. So, there are people looking, like if you come help them out, they're more than happy to, show you the ropes. And that's always the easiest way to kind of learn before you start making the financial investment. Because like Hunter said, it's not, it's not a cheap hobby, cars in general, let alone racing.
No. So if let's say someone is out there and they're interested in maybe volunteering, where do they find out about any of those opportunities?
ChampCar forums. So there's a website, there's Facebook groups, everything like that. So
okay, cool. So just kind of hunt those down.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the events and kind of how they've been, Sands fans for the most part, do you feel there's going to be kind of like a revitalization once they're allowed to come back?
Absolutely.
Like are the crowds, do you feel they're going to be bigger than they were previously?
You'll run into like your maximum capacity, like your limits and stuff with Daytona stuff like that. But people are they're ready to get back to normalcy.
Yeah.
They want the shows. Like, you were saying, one of you were saying earlier with the Cars and Coffee, you better get it started, but somebody else is going to start it. Yeah. So it's they're ready to get back out to enjoy that hobby again, to share their car with somebody else or check out
social aspect of it.
Yeah. Just be around people again.
Gotcha. What type of future events do you guys have planned currently?
None.
Still waiting to get started.
We have no idea. He texted me that the other day. He said, I've got people that are asking, are we going to do this show this year? I want to do it. It's going to be our 10th year.
Right.
We really wanted to do something big. Obviously, we weren't expecting any of this to happen. The issue that we're running into now is that all those events that were starting in April, May time are now rescheduling for the weekends that we have. And events that are big enough that we just couldn't compete with.
Right.
So I don't want to have our 10th year and we've got half the amount of cars because people are out at SEMA, or I think there's an HSR race. There's a Celebration Exotic Car Festivals going on that it would hurt us. And that's not how I want. It's not your damn fault. So we will have it. We just haven't figured out when. I got to sit down and see what other events are going on, but we are planning to have it still.
And one of the big things, I mean, Cars and Coffee's going through it is, hey, the venues. I mean, are they going to...
mercy of the venue.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the biggest part. If we don't have a venue to do it, no matter who we have wanting to show up, we're out of luck. So
right.
Yeah. So even dealing with Celebrations track day at Daytona, are you guys, I mean, I'm sure it's kind of like a month to month type of thing, but are you getting any kind of initial line from them as far as how that's going to look at?
We have no idea. It moved we'd moved it initially from April to July, and then we rescheduled to the November date, and that happened, I think May or June, if I remember correctly. But I think that was even that's a wait and see. I mean, everything right now, again, we're up to the mercy of the venues because, like I said, we did the first PCA event at Sebring, the very first event they allowed to open back up a couple months ago. And, they're super strict on the social distancing, the mask. When we raced at Daytona, we actually got pushed from July 4th to July 5th, the Sunday, because IMSA was doing a sprint race on July 4th.
Oh,
so they were super strict because, again, you've got cameras out there on national news. And again, we were technically really the only fans that would have been allowed, but we kind of just said, we'll be racing there tomorrow. We'll just worry about it tomorrow. But, we just didn't want to deal with, getting in trouble or getting yelled at, that sort of thing. So, everyone's trying to do the right thing because I think right now a lot of it is, the pressure from everyone else around you. So all eyes are on you. So,
right.
The people are having to make conservative calls and, you're just kind of waiting to find out. So,
never fun.
Yeah.
Nope. I would love to get back to some normalcy where you can just plan an event and the only thing you have to worry about is Florida's weather.
We'll get there.
outside of cars, is there anything you guys like doing? What kind of gets you away from the car scene? Either a little bit of decompress, relax, those types of things. Any hobbies outside of four wheels?
No. Traveling, but that's limited.
Yeah, well,
So, I mean, that was
we can only
my big
go
thing.
so many places right now.
No, we're stuck.
Yeah, I think we were. So Chelsea, we were just talking before this. We were like, "Oh, we got some notifications from JetBlue about some cheap flights," and I'm like, "Where the hell are we gonna go? Like, I mean, we can't even go to the Bahamas of all places."
Yeah,
like,
no, I couldn't do that. I had my best friend was going to be getting married over in Dublin this year, and it was the weekend before the 24-hour. So we were my family was going to fly back early. I was going to stay for the weekend, go over to Le Mans and watch that. And that was a bucket list item
Awesome,
thing that I wanted to do. That got canceled.
Yep.
And then it was, okay, well, we'll stay till Monday and we'll go over to Germany. We'll see the Porsche Museum. I'd been there before, but I was kind of pressed for time. So I wanted to go back and spend more time, spend the whole day there.
Right.
That got canceled. So it's kind of screwing me over. I'm really getting sick of it.
Yeah.
It was like a great trip planned out, another road trip to Europe, and screwed.
And nothing.
No.
I think
it's okay.
the only thing, well, again, I have to agree, travel and events have kind of gotten screwed, but I mean, I got upset the gym was closed for a couple of months, but
It's the damn gym.
yeah, that's kind of what
You over there with like 5-gallon buckets full of water.
No, I didn't do a single thing. I played Call of Duty and I got chubby, and then I definitely regretted it when I got on the boat. So yeah, that's basically what I do is work, go to the gym, and then on the weekends boating and
I didn't
Call
care
of
about
Duty
the
in
gym.
between. So
I was upset about the bars.
yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, I could drink anywhere,
Well,
so I'm not
bar.
really.
Bar. I was in Sebring. There's one bar.
Yeah, that's
The bar.
watering hole.
There's the bar. No, that one's too far. I go to Blue Lagoon.
Okay.
Watering hole's like 5 miles. It's way too far.
So as we kind of bring things to a close, I usually do, and I don't add it to the show outline because I like it to be a little more off the cuff.
Okay.
We do a little thing called daily race and crush. So I'm gonna give you 3 cars. And tell me which one you want daily, which one you want to race, which one you would crush. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I kind of went through and I was looking through some of the photos from last year's Cars for Our Troop event, and came up with the McLaren 720S, the Huracan Performante, and the Ferrari 430 Scuderia.
Crush the Ferrari, daily the 720, race the Performante.
All right. Well, there we go.
Super
I
easy
like,
for me.
I like no hesitation.
What was your list again?
So
Crush Ferrari, race.
The Performante, and daily the 720.
I don't know because I really like the Scuderia.
it is a good car.
I really like that. I'd probably race that. Although it'd be the worst one out of that group.
You be
Daily?
with all the Ferrari Challenge guys and wear red all over.
That's true. I've got some Pumas at the house I haven't worn since they were in fashion like 30 years ago.
I think I have an old pair from like an all white pair that had like the Ferrari logo on the side.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, I'd probably race the Ferrari, crush the McLaren, and then daily the Lamborghini.
Interesting.
That'll keep me up tonight.
You're going to regret
I'm going to ask you, be like, can I change my answer?
phone in.
And so so bonus question, what do you think of the current state of McLaren?
I'm sad.
I mean, what was it? They just had the banks, from the Middle East put money in. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to let it fail. I mean, they're probably going to be, definitely some restructuring. I'm a huge McLaren fan, so.
Oh yeah, no, I love them. They're gorgeous and everything, but I mean, they have had their issues.
Yep. I think they definitely have bitten off a lot more, and you get a lot of, people that criticize them for that and, some of the issues they've had. But I mean, just the technology and, what they strive for. I think they're aiming high. So, I mean, you're probably going to, you're going to take your hits.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's not just cars. Like the McLaren Technology Center, they do a ton of stuff. They do the communications for F1.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done some medical stuff, so I think the company will be able to, survive. But I mean, who knows with their F1 team, look at what happened with Audi after Dieselgate. You're going to take some big losses, but, Audi's not going anywhere, but.
No, and then of course now you see the Volkswagen Group. They fully invested now in the electric and trying to swing the pendulum the incredibly opposite direction of Dieselgate. So
I don't know. Formula E is just not my thing. I just can't get behind it. So I miss the R18s, and those cars were just amazing. So
right. Yeah. So I've got a buddy, and he's got a Model X P100D, and took it out in like ludicrous plus mode, and it's amazing. Like it and the sensation, single gear, all this type of stuff. But there's no noise.
I hear
no
the pebbles
fuss.
hitting the underneath, and I'm just like, wow.
I worked for them for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was it was really cool with the Model X. The speed or the acceleration that I think is capable of with what it weighs.
Yeah.
And you could tell people that come into the store all the time, oh, it'll do 0 to 60 in this time. And it's, oh, that's cool. But until you get them in the car and they can experience that, and we'll do the test drives and we take them behind the store. We had a good stretch that was kind of secluded. We could do the launch modes with them. We tell people, put your head back against the headrest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they'd be looking back to their friends or whatever, and you go to punch it, not realizing they've got a kink in their neck. I had a friend that screwed up his pacemaker.
Holy shit!
A friend was taking him out and just kept launching it, and he did it like 5 times, and then realized something's not working, and he had to go into the doctor and recalibrate it. But
that's insane.
Yeah, unless he was lying to me, but that's the story that he told me.
So, that single gear so if you've ever been to Universal Studios and they have the Hulk where it just kind of the roller coaster shoots you out.
Yeah.
I've told people it's kind of, if you've never been in a Tesla and you've never done that launch, it's kind of like, it's just like that instant, just push you back, completely linear. Yeah. No muss, no fuss.
That's a good comparison.
Goes.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. I never thought about it that way.
And you're getting other cars that can do the same now. I mean, you've got, the Porsches, the turbos, the GT2s,
right.
The GTRs, especially the modded ones. I mean, it's crazy. Again, I love the tech behind Tesla, but the fact that we're getting, more analog cars that are able to do the same thing is pretty wild. So, I mean, we're again, to be, to live in a time like this.
Well, I think we're in another automotive horsepower golden era, kind of like we're that 50s, 60s, early 70s, where it was just like who can pump out the most horsepower. And I think now it's just like every year is something just crazy.
1,000 horsepower cars, you're getting 9-second demons. I mean, it's just insane. And that's not it. That's just factory stuff versus, you look at the aftermarket and, going back, when 500 horsepower was freaking amazing. And now you get daily drivers with, my valet mode is 500 horsepower.
Yeah. Well, I even laugh now. I mean, the Jeep is 300 horsepower. Yeah. I'm like it's just a truck. Yep. Yeah. So it's interesting. It'll be, I think, as we kind of see this mesh between technology versus, I wouldn't call it old school, but combustion and everything else over the next decade. It'll be really curious to see kind of what really wins out. Like I think we see a lot of your electric cars being more of like your dailies and grocery getters, but then you still have everyone who wants that weekend car, who wants that track car.
Yeah, I think just about 95% of our friends are probably going to stick with combustion. They're just,
as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, as a diehard enthusiast, or, again, the technology's cool, but we're just, old fashioned and like our sound. I think for me, I know every car I do is exhaust.
It's the sound. Yeah. It's not the same experience. Yep. And it's weird being in a Tesla. You get used to it over the time you're working for them.
Right.
But for people that are in there, and it's all you hear is wind noise. You can kind of hear the tires a little bit, but they're not chirping. You don't have any engine noise or anything like that.
Right.
Kind of throws them off. But I think true car people will stick with internal combustion.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's noise. And when it sounds right, it's great. Because I think even when Rolex was able to, was one of the last events before everything really hit the fan, and the C8R was out there. The C7R, I think, better sounding. Like the C8R is a great car. It did well. It was amazing. But man, I was like, I kind of missed the C7.
Yep. It's so throaty. You knew it. Like it just meant, I'm not even a Corvette fan, but you knew what it was. I mean, and on the other hand, you've got like the Ford GTs when they came out and that V6 turbo, and you're just like, I'm a little weird.
It's like whisper quiet. Yeah.
Completely different.
The Vets were deafening.
I used to love the people walk over at Sebring. The Vets would go on, and you knew any time a Vet went underneath because it was just deafening.
Yeah.
So Cool. Well, other than that, guys, I think we're about wrapped up. Definitely we'll make sure we have everyone's socials and contact information and everything else down in the show descriptions.
Okay.
By all means, definitely, if you're not already following Cars for Our Troops, check them out on Facebook. Any information that does eventually come out when he decides to do something will be there.
If we're doing it in December, look for something like end of October. That sounds about right.
Perfect. Cool. Well, guys, thanks again for coming out, spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Look
thanks
forward
for having us.
to have you guys on again as we get some more events under our belt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, everybody out there. If you're listening, watching, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.
Are you ready?